This is VOA News. Via remote, I'm Marissa Melton. The U.S. Senate voted Tuesday to proceed with the impeachment trial of former President Donald Trump on a charge that he incited insurrection at the U.S. Capitol building last month. The now former president gave a speech January 6th, urging hundreds of his supporters to confront lawmakers as they met to certify that Democrat Joe Biden had defeated him in last November's election. Hundreds of his supporters then marched to the Capitol building and broke in, overpowering Capitol Police and committing vandalism inside the building as members of Congress were rushed to safety. Senators voted 56 to 44 Tuesday to start the hearing the evidence in the case at midday Wednesday. The vote came after 4 hours of impassioned arguments about the constitutionality of holding the trial with Mr. Trump no longer in office. Democratic lawmakers from the House of Representatives prosecuting the case against Trump said the former U.S. leader must be held to account for his actions in his final weeks in office. Trump's two lawyers contended that the U.S. Constitution only provides for impeachment as a means to remove a sitting president from office. The White House says vaccines against COVID-19 will be distributed to community health centers across the United States in the coming weeks. Washington has identified 250 community health centers that reach underserved populations to distribute the vaccines directly from the federal government. Until now, vaccines had been given to state governments first. 43 million doses of the vaccine have been administered, with just over 3% of the U.S. population fully vaccinated. This is according to data from the Johns Hopkins Coronavirus Resource Center. The number of available doses is expected to increase as a third vaccine developed by Johnson & Johnson is expected to be approved for emergency use this month. VOA News. The United States on Tuesday condemned violence against protesters in Myanmar just over a week after a military coup took over the democratically elected government. U.S. State Department spokesman Ned Price told reporters, quote, "We repeat our calls for the military to relinquish power, restore democratically elected government, release those detained, and lift all telecommunications restrictions." Earlier Tuesday, Myanmar police cracked down on people protesting the coup in the capital of Naypyidaw by firing warning shots, rubber bullets, and water cannon. At least 2 protesters were seriously injured with what are believed to be gunshot wounds. Demonstrators gathered in the streets of Myanmar's capital for a 4th consecutive day Tuesday, defying a set of restrictions imposed by the military junta aimed at stopping the protests. Tuesday's protest occurred just hours after the military announced an 8 p.m. to 4 a.m. curfew that would be imposed on the cities of Yangon and Mandalay. The regime has also banned gatherings of more than 4 people across the country. The United Nations, in addition to the United States, has voiced, quote, strong concern over the crackdown. A session of the European Parliament turned ugly on Tuesday when lawmakers scolded the EU's top officials for what they dubbed a disastrous trip last week to Moscow by Europe's top diplomat Josep Borrell. Borrell was meeting with Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov when news broke that Russia had expelled 3 European diplomats for allegedly participating in demonstrations against the jailing of opposition politician Alexei Navalny. Several national governments had urged Borrell to call off his trip to the Russian capital, arguing it was ill-timed in the wake of Navalny's jailing and amid the Kremlin's paramilitary-style crackdown on street protests. Now, critics are calling on him to resign. Borrell has said instead he will propose to EU foreign ministers next week a list of Russian names to be sanctioned over the jailing of Navalny. He also said the Russian government seeks to divide the members of the EU. The president of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, has defended Borrell and says he has her full backing. And Haitian President Jovenel Moïse has retired 3 Supreme Court justices 2 days after announcing a foiled coup attempt. Haiti's opposition has insisted for months that President Moïse's term expired on February 7th, according to the Constitution, and that a transitional government should replace him. Moïse says his term will expire in February of 2022. That's a date accepted by the United States, the United Nations, and the Organization of American States. They've urged Moïse to organize elections as soon as technically feasible, followed by 2021 presidential elections. VOA News.